Hey guys, thank you for joining me for my very first DIY video tutorial. I've never done one of these before, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of flaws and mistakes and things I leave out. But I am pressed for time because I'm only sleeping about 4 hours a night to get Halloween orders finished in time. So here we go. So this is what we're going to be working on and what it should look like once we're finished. There is some things you'll need other than what's in the DIY kit, and I'm going to list that in the description below. And here we go, let's jump into it. Okay, so we're going to start with iridescent glitter glue, and you're going to get this at either Michael's, or I'm sure you could order it on Amazon as well if you don't want to make the trip. I'm sure Amazon has it, as well as you're going to need Modge Podge, B7000 industrial strength glue, or E6000 will work as well as the B7000, either one of those. And if you have a hot glue gun as well, otherwise you can use either of the B7000 or the E6000 instead. So the reason I use the glitter glue here is because instead of the Modge Podge, the Modge Podge will be used for all the other coats, Modge Podge just sinks and absorbs right into the fabric. Glitter glue will sit on top, and it works great for the first coat of the glitter that you're about to sprinkle on. And just a quick tip, when you're doing the glitter, the higher you hold it up, the more spread out and the glitter will fall, and it won't look like blotchy or cut, the colors won't cut off and then one begins. It'll fade nicely if you hold the glitter up high, and then if you just lightly tap it, quick taps as you're moving the bottle and the bra as well, which you're going to see right now, but I just thought I would give those tips ahead of time. And I'm sorry, but there are points where I'm blocking the camera, and I apologize for that. This is my first time again, so bear with me. And as I said, tap, 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 and then just move the bottle and the bra. And I'm trying to get it kind of thick in the middle first, and then you'll see that I move it up and down, high and low. So I want to get it thick in the middle, and then I want it to fade out on the edges so it's not like this blunt cut off point. Because I definitely like to get that nice faded ombre look. So again, I'm just quickly tapping and moving the cup in a rainbow shape. You definitely want that U shape as you're doing the glitter because of the shape of the shells, and you'll understand later, but just definitely make sure it's a rainbow shape or a U shape. And try to make sure you're lining it up with the middle. Do you see how it's the middle of the cup that I'm making the top of the curve. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Anyway, so again, the parts that you want to get really dense, you do low, and then as you want it, and I'm sorry, I'm blocking the camera here, but as you want to blend the colors, you're going to get higher up and hold the bottle higher up. And just see how quickly I'm tapping it. I mean, I did speed up the video a little bit, otherwise this would be hours long, as you will see how long this takes to make. Okay, now we're going in with the pink. And again, just tapping, and you do want to cross over into the other color a little bit. And at that point, you want to hold it really high up when you're doing that, and ease into it. Carefully ease into the crossing over of the colors, but you do want to blend them for sure. Unless you like a blunt edge color, not blending into each other, but I like it blended. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with the lavender, and again I'm going to kind of cross over into the other colors and lightly and carefully blend it. Now this is not what it's going to look like when it's finished. This blotchiness is just the first coat. Okay, so after you did both sides, you put it aside, you let it dry. Wait a couple hours, and then you come back, you get your Modge Podge and a paintbrush, and you're going to dribble some Modge Podge on the top. And be aware, because the glitter that's on the surface is not all stuck down hard. It's going to be loose. So you want to be careful not to like cross over like the blue to the pink. So you're just going to dribble some on there, like get a decent amount on there. And you're just going to paint it on. I like to start with the lavender because I try to like blend into, and like I said, the glitter's going to be a little bit loose. So you're going to be picking up glitter on your brush. And I'm just blending it into the color that on either side that lavender is next to, instead of like getting blue on pink or pink on blue. And so I'm just going to paint it, and you're going to do this exact same thing to the other side. I'm going to skip the other side to make this video a little shorter because I'm having trouble downloading it, or I was earlier. Now I've had to redo this video several times, which is why it's taken so long for me to get it up, and I apologize for that. I have a newfound respect for content creators because this is not easy and it's very time consuming. And when I have tons of deadlines to me, it was very hard to squeeze this in. So I apologize for the wait, and thank you for being so patient. So you're just gonna, like I said, you're just gonna paint it, and I'm just gonna show you this one side, and then you're just gonna do the exact same thing to the other side, and then we're gonna move on to the applique, which is the centerpiece. And once we move on to that, basically you're going to want to do that in between drying sessions because that's time consuming as well. So once you get this second coat on, or even the first coat, because glitter glue does take a while to dry, you can work on the applique, which is going to be the next step. Also, especially for the first coat with the glitter glue, if you want to put like a heater on it, that might help dry it fast. If you want to put it off in a corner or the bathroom or something like that and put a heater like blowing on it, that will help dry it faster. The Modge Podge, I would be careful with that because I've tried that before and it bubbles up sometimes. Glitter glue, you'll be fine though. You can put a good amount of heat on it. So again, we're going to hold it up high. Especially for the last couple of coats, you really want to hold it up high so that you get that nice blended, faded look, the nice ombre. So I'm holding it really high up right here. And I'm just, like I said, tap, tap, tap. Even how I hold the bottle, I hold like when you look at the little holes, like the shaker part of it, I hold it on sideways so that the glitter is really just coming out of one hole, so it's not pouring out. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but do you see where my thumb was? It was holding like do you see how I'm tipping it sideways so that it's only coming out of one hole? And then again, like I said, you want to kind of cross over into the colors a little bit and just move the bra side to side. Make sure you're not getting blotchy, clumpy areas. So yeah, it looks like a pretty good blend. And so you're going to repeat this. I didn't show the second or the third time, but I repeat this step where I put the Modge Podge and then sprinkle the glitter. I repeat this step 3 to 5 times. So you can do it to however much you want, whatever you're satisfied with. I like to do, and I usually do like about 4 to 5 times, honestly. But it's up to you, whatever you're satisfied with. I just feel like the more coats you give, the better the blending looks. And it just looks cleaner and better. And I put a good amount of glitter so that you would be able to do 4 to 5 coats if you wanted to. And there I'm just trying to blend it into the lavender. I almost always do one last coat of lavender. I start with the lavender, then I do the blue, then the pink, and then the lavender again. Just to get that nice, like, equal balance and blending there. If one looks thicker, I try to, like, fix it on the next round. I just try to make sure it's as even as possible. Okay, I was going to skip this one, but I decided to go ahead and add it in just to show you how much better it looks when you do multiple coats. As you can see, this is already, what, the third coat, I think? And then I'm going to do one more after this. And then I was finished with the coats. And you're going to see in the next video what it looks like once it's coated. And then I also wanted a second to mention that after you finish this step, you want to draw on the shells with like a pencil or a light marker or something that won't stand out too much. And most mistakes are pretty easy to hide, but just something that you don't want to show like really bad, like black marker or something. Like maybe get like a pink marker or a pencil. And so I had thought that I was recording when I was drawing the pencil, when I was using the pencil to draw the shells on. And I think I must have got a phone call or something, and so it never recorded. So I just took a plain white bra and drew and recorded that and drew the shells on, showing you how to draw those on. And that's going to be in the next step. So just keep that in mind, that it's the reason why it's just a white bra. It's not because it's the first step you're supposed to do. It's definitely after you finish all the glue and all the coats. And as far as like the last coat should be Modge Podge. So after you are done sprinkling glitter, the final coat should be Modge Podge, and then you set it aside to dry, and once it's fully dry, then you draw on the shells. And I'm going to show you in the next step how to draw the shells on. And so this also gave me a chance to say that. So again, this is my last coat of glitter, and then I put one more Modge Podge after this. But see how it looks a lot better? Even through the Modge Podge, you can even tell that it looks much less blotchy. The blending looks really good. And it just has that nice ombre. So again, the more coats you put, the more you're going to get that nice blending of the colors. So here I'm marking the center of the cup. And again, at this point, you're going to be done with all the glitter, and the last Modge Podge coat is going to be dried. So you're going to try to find kind of the center of like where the blue is, which should be the center, like down at the bottom center. Like the blue should be where, the middle of the blue should be where I'm marking about. And then you're just going to draw a large upside down drop. And the point is going to be at that middle part right there. And for me, I'm really good at eyeballing things and like measuring with like just eyeballing it. Like that comes very natural to me. So I hope that this is easy for you to eyeball. If not, maybe you could try using measuring tape and like marking points, if that helps you. Like I'm not sure if that will. I hope so. I just hope that this is easy for you. So you're going to do the other two sides, and again, I'm just kind of eyeballing what would be the middle between the drop, that line of the drop, and the edge of the underwire. I'm kind of guessing, like, do you see how that line is kind of in the middle of that? And then this is just going to follow along the underwire. And on the other side as well, I'm just kind of eyeballing and guessing about what would be halfway, because those two are supposed to be the same size. Those two scallops, I guess. I'm not sure what to call it. But see how it's all kind of measured up? They all kind of look about the same size. And then you're going to see in a minute when I do the right one that I do the middle part, the large upside down drop. I do that a little bit too much to the right. And then how I fix it is I'm just going to kind of draw another line a little bit more to the left on both sides of the drop. Like I'm just going to try to like move it over a little bit and ignore the original drawing. But see, I'm trying to get it, I'm trying to compare it and get it like centered. You can kind of fold the bra inward and see if it matches up to see if they're the same, which I'll do at the end. You'll see what I'm talking about. But see, I'm doing this way too much to the right, and so it's definitely going to look off if I left it like that. So I do end up fixing it. Pardon my voice. I just got over a cold. So it's very scratchy. So see how that looks wider than the left side? See how I'm like looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, this is definitely a little too wide. I can see it as I'm doing it right there. So then I'm trying to kind of go over with this line. I'm trying to go over a little bit more, and then I'm examining it and realizing that I definitely went too far to the right. See, there you go. So now I'm trying to kind of just move the lines over a little bit. And see, I'm just going to draw a new line next to the old one. And now that looks better. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the other two lines. And now I'm basing it off of the line furthest to the left. And again, if you are bad at eyeballing distances, I'm sure if you kind of measure with a measuring tape, you can kind of mark a little bit of like where you need it to be. I'm just going to darken that line. But essentially that's it. And then see, I'm kind of like folding it in together so that I can kind of see if everything's lining up the same, just to make sure that both sides are matching. And see, I thought the left side needed to be a little bit higher up. So I'm just thickening that line upward so that it matches the other side. There we go. And then again, just trying to make sure everything matches. You guys do not have to be this much of a perfectionist. This is just my problem. And I mean, as a seller, everything should be perfect. And this is what it should look like when you're done drawing the shells, and then you're just adding the crystal chain now. And again, I'm using a hot glue gun, but you can use the E6000 or the B7000. And I'm just doing a little bit at a time just to make sure that I'm getting it perfectly on that line there. And this is the thicker crystal chain, not the one that's on the actual chain. This is the one that there's a little gap. So if you do have any gaps in your crystal chain, just cut the end off of one and then just glue it in. And then yeah, this is the thicker crystal chain. And then you're just going to follow each line. I always start with the big drop center part, and then I do the outsides. There was like some chunky hot glue there, so I'm just trying to fix it. Again, I apologize. After I think I mentioned it before, but after I had COVID, I got sick again with another cold that was pretty hard on my lungs. It almost felt worse than COVID. So excuse me for my raspy voice and my coughing. I apologize. But this video could not wait any longer. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the smaller pearl trim. There's two different pearl trims that you should have. One is the bigger one that's right there, and then this is the smaller one. So we're just going to line all of the inside of the shell. So anything that's inside of the shell, you're going to line. I don't know why I just repeated that in two different ways. I'm sorry. And I think I only am doing one side because you're really just going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and I just didn't think it was necessary because this video is already pretty long. After this, we are going to go in with the pieces of the centerpiece, the applique, and you're going to see here that I'm going to just play around with it for a bit before I make anything permanent. You definitely don't want to just start gluing immediately. You want to play with it. You want to make sure it fits in well. And because, you'll see right now, but because mine wasn't quite fitting in very well, I needed it to kind of stick out a little bit. So I added some hot glue to the back of the center piece of it to make it more stiff and kind of stick out. It was very like floppy, and I just needed it to be more stiff. So as you can see, I'm playing around. I'm trying to see how it fits best. And then I realized that that's too high because that piece isn't fitting in. That second piece I picked up isn't fitting. So here I'm just putting some hot glue on the back to make it thicker and more sturdy. And you might want to do the same thing. If you don't need to, you don't need to, but it helped me. So I just let it dry. Trying to make sure it dries straight. Okay, and then I waited till it was dry before I started playing around with it again. So see that now that piece just fit. Because I moved it down more, that piece fit in there in between the centerpiece and the shell. So that, I glued it on. I glued the centerpiece on. Now, just adding a little extra glue. Okay, so now that's glued on. And now that little hook piece, whatever, I don't know what to call it, is gonna fit in there. There I go, squeezing it in. And that fits perfectly in between the shell and the applique. And then, again, I'm only doing one side. And I'm not showing the second side because you're just going to repeat. So I don't feel like I needed to show the other side. So just pause it in between wherever you need to. And I think this is all pretty self-explanatory. Again, if you screenshot the picture of the laid out applique, you should see how this fits together, and it should be pretty easy. This centerpiece is definitely more detailed than the one in the picture that when you purchase the DIY kit. The picture in that one is an older picture, and I do need to update it. This centerpiece is definitely more detailed than that one. I started using other pieces of the applique that I was throwing away before. Like those pieces right there I wasn't adding on before, but I think it looks better with it. You can opt out of using those if you want to stick to the original design in the picture. I just personally like how it looks with all the pieces. I like lots of detail, if that's not obvious. So I do like adding it. And then in a second, I'm going to be done with the right side. And again, I didn't record the left side. You're just going to repeat the exact same thing on the left side. And then we're going to move on to the thicker pearl trim. And that's going to line just the outside of the shells. And there, that's the finished applique. That's what it should look like. If you want to pause here and examine it, you can. And then we're going to take the pearl trim, like I said, and we're just going to go around the outside of the shells. And again, I only did the left side here because I feel like once you do one side, you're going to know how to do the other. So I just didn't think it was necessary. And I don't know why I cut this right here. You don't need to cut it. You can just leave it as one whole string. I think I was used to doing the inside pieces and I just was on autopilot, but just leave it as one whole thing. You don't have to cut it. And then once this finishes, we're just going to add some chunky glitter. I use another glue for my final finishing touches. You can use your Modge Podge. That is perfectly fine. That's what I used to use. I just bought this one recently and I just like it a little bit better. It's just a little bit harder. It dries a little bit harder and I just like it slightly better. There's not a big difference, but it is called Maker's Magic, and you can actually use it instead of Modge Podge for all of the steps that are used with Modge Podge if you want, but it's on Amazon and it's called Maker's Magic. It does have a very strong smell, just a heads up. But it's going to show right now that I'm going to paint the shells with it, and then I'm going to sprinkle on the last layer of glitter, which is the chunky iridescent glitter. And I'm so sorry. I just totally skipped this step when I was talking about it. We're going to sew on the chain first, not the glitter. The glitter is last. I apologize. So here I'm just threading my needle and I'm eyeballing the chain to kind of see how long it is and how it's going to fit. So you're just going to kind of like make it shaped like a smile, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. And then also when you're sewing on the chain, you want to make sure that on the chain links, there is an opening. Like on every chain link, on any necklace, there's an opening on every single chain link. You want to make sure that opening is facing down away from the thread, not... See how you can see how the chain link is, it's very small and a little bit hard to see, but essentially if that is the part that you're sewing against the thread, against the bra, if you're sewing the opening there, it could come off of the thread. It could fall off. So just make sure that the link opening, even though it's very tiny, it's just a tiny little slit, you still want to make sure that it's facing away from the thread. I hope that made sense. Sounded a little confusing to me. And if any of you don't know how to hand sew, honestly, I sew what I can because I'm selling these and I think it's higher quality if I'm hand sewing things. But for DIYers, honestly, you can just actually glue the chain underneath the applique in the same area that you saw me sewing it, like right next to, or even like underneath those two little drop shapes right there on the applique, the centerpiece, right next to where I sewed it. You could just glue it under that, or you can even glue it to the back of the bra right there on the other side. Hot glue is pretty sturdy, and if you put like enough, it will definitely hold chain for sure. And you can also do this with the B7000 or the E6000. So if you want to skip the sewing step, because honestly, hand sewing sucks. I hate it. But if you want to skip that step, you can do the easy route and do the glue. Also, the thread just gets tangled on the applique and everywhere, and the other chain. It's such a hassle. I sped this video up, so this is going to take a lot longer. It took a lot longer. Okay, so now the little silver hoops, you're going to just open those up. If you have pliers, that works better, but if you can handle it with your fingers, my fingers are used to it. It kind of hurts a little, but my fingers are used to it, so I just do it by hand. I open them up as I'm doing right there, and then I kind of see where the center is, and then I put it on the chain, and I put the little jewels on there. And then you close it up. And then you do it with the bottom chain as well. Okay, so make sure those are even up. So I'm just picking it up to see how they hang, just to make sure that they're hanging straight down and that they're even. I normally do this on my mannequin, but since this is for people who probably don't have a mannequin, I'm just doing it like this. It is, if you do happen to have one, it is easier. Or even like on a pillow standing up, because when it's hanging, you can kind of see better than when it's laying like this. So I think at this point, it was not even, so I'm undoing it. I think I just put it up one chain link. Nope, still not even. So I'm fixing it again, putting it up one more, I think. There we go. So I typically do 3 on bottom and 5 on the top chain. And that was how I tried to kind of measure the distance. Again, so much easier if it's hanging. If you can like put the bra around a pillow and stand it up, this part will be a lot easier. So I guess the middle piece wasn't even hanging right. So I'm undoing them and just fixing them. And I think it looks good now from what I can tell. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. You can use a measuring tape if you want to make sure that it's all evened out perfectly. Or you can count the chain links to make sure they're all matched up perfectly. I've just been doing this such a long time that I can just do it quick now. Okay, and then I'm just holding it up to see how everything's hanging, and it looks good. Okay, I guess I need to adjust some more. Yes, okay, I want to move that up a little bit. And do to the other one. Okay, and then after this is when we're going to do the chunky glitter like I was saying. And again, you're just going to use Modge Podge, and unless you end up getting the Maker's Magic, and you can use that for everything, like I said. You can use it instead of the Modge Podge on all the steps. But I'm just putting this all around, and then I'm going to sprinkle the chunkiest glitter first, and then the second less chunky. So there's the chunky, and since yours is in baggies, I would just maybe like sprinkle it with the baggies, or you can even like pour it out and then like pinch it and kind of like sprinkle it on with your fingers. And this is the final product. Thank you so much for bearing with me through this messy video. I apologize. If you post anything on TikTok or Instagram, tag us at Sugar Rocks Couture. Thank you so